All right, good evening, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Curl Conversations. I have my lovely friend Jennessa here, and we're so excited today for today's topic. Today's topic is actually about curl typing systems. And so you'll see that the title of this episode is Does Your Client's Curl Type? Oh my gosh. So does your client's curl type matter? Or what does it mean for us? My screen just went away. I was like, oh no. Yes, but this is, you can tell we're live. We're rolling with it here. It's fine. So yes, the question is, does your client's curl type matter? And so we're excited to talk today about this because we hear so much about curl typing systems and what is my curl type? How do I find the right product? And so Jennessa and I thought we would bring our friend and our colleague, Sid, on to talk about this subject. So I'm going to go ahead and bring her on. Hi, Sid.
Hi, girls. Hi.
Thank you so much for joining us. I'm so excited to have you. Can we start off with just you introducing yourself? Maybe you can tell us how or why you became a hairstylist, and then maybe your relationship to DevaCurl.
Hey, well, first of all, thank you for having me. And to those of you who don't know me or haven't met me, haven't seen me, haven't heard my melodious voice, my name is Sid Rauf. And how I got into hairdressing is I would always decapitate my dolls when I was younger. My mom thought I was going to have like emotional issues, but really I just got bored of cutting their hair. And once I cut their hair down to a certain point, then off with the head it went. And then, I was, quasi plastic surgeon at the point to, reshaping hair, reshaping heads at the same time. And then, I don't know, I've just always been a very artsy person, and hair was just a canvas that I somehow naturally acclimated myself to in order to paint my pictures. And I actually used to paint and I color and all those fun things. And it just kind of led itself into hair. And that's how I became a hairdresser. I was the girl in school that did all the ponytails or did the rod sets or was in the cosmetology room doing hair. And my neighbor, sorry, that's my dog. It's thundering, so he gets a little weird. My neighbor in my neighborhood owned a salon for most of my life. And when I was in high school, I took up cosmetology. And then on the weekends or whenever I had free time, she let me come work at her salon as an apprentice. And I started very early. And here I am.
Wow.
Then what was your next question?
Yeah, the next question is, what is your relationship? Actually, before I ask you how you're involved with DevaCurl, would love to know how your career got you to where you are. So for example, everyone knows that I'm a hairstylist by trade, but I no longer take clients behind the chair. And so Sid, is there something that helped you make the jump from behind the chair into what you're doing now, which you can share with the audience?
There was no particular event or occurrence that happened throughout just my life. I knew I wasn't going to stand behind the chair for the rest of my life. I knew it was going to be something that was going to arm me with the tools that I needed to move on in my career, even though I didn't know exactly what that meant. And having gone to high school, worked in a salon for most of my life, going off to college and graduating, I graduated school and came to New York in May, June, July, August, September. Within 4 months, I was in New York, no family, no friends, hardly any money. I registered at the Aveda School, the Aveda Institute. It was either here or California. My dad was like, well, if you're going to be a hairdresser, then you're going to go somewhere where you can make a great name for yourself and go anywhere in the world. And that is like New York or California. And I was like, okay, cool. And New York just kind of worked out. And I went to cosmetology school, went at night, trying to make this story short. At night, got my hours, got my license, started working at a salon on the East Side. And from there, the economy started tanking after a certain point, my understanding of economics and business and having that acumen from even my parents who were entrepreneurs as well as school, I understood what was going on around me. And also too, my clients were wealthy clients. And when wealthy people stop spending money, the luxury segment or industry of any type of depression or any financial type of downfall or any, for most parts, anything, they very rarely take a hit. And like I said, when wealthy people stop spending money, something's wrong. So that's when I fell back on my career. On my degree. I didn't know when I was going to fall back on my degree, but I knew that degree was going to be there for a reason. And that's when I sought out the beauty industry, like the marketing brands and the beauty companies of the world. And that's how I got into product development, technical testing, education. And that's how I essentially got to DevaCurl in education.
I love that. She tells me this. I hear Sid share this story a lot, and I'm always so encouraged because I think there's this idea about stylists can only do one thing, and it's just like, I feel like you're one of those people who it's like, no, you can do everything. You can do even more.
Yeah, like I had to sell it to my dad because he's traditional, like, and not traditional in his personality, but he wanted me to go to college and go to grad school and this and that and other. He's like, so what are you gonna do? Hang your degree over your salon chair? And I'm like, dude, there's people who own salons and work in salons. Him being a business owner, I'm like, they make more money than you. So like, let's not go there. I literally had to start my plight for my rights, like in my house. So I had to learn how to sell and market myself appropriately in my house. So that naturally led to my ability to be able to do it outside of the house. And the reason and I appreciate him so much for that, because it taught us how to think and not just speak and want things without understanding why we're wanting them. So I definitely appreciate that. He would give us whatever we wanted basically, but you had to explain why you deserved it. Even if it was your sneakers, like if it was over a certain amount of money, he's like, okay, cool. You want them? Here's this dollar amount, and whatever else, if it goes over this, then you got to get it how you live.
I love that. Your parents are very similar to mine.
So it's a level of like responsibility and accountability very early in life.
Yep.
It's setting you up for success. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Love it.
Because that like what life is supposed to be, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah. I used to, but now, as you mature and you gather experiences in life, you're like, oh, that's why that was happening. Oh, thank God he did that. Thank God she did that.
Yeah, it's that hard moment when you realize you're turning into your parents, and it's actually a great thing.
So I just have one more question for you, Sid, before we jump into our topic today. And that is, what do you do specifically at DevaCurl?
Ooh, juicy question. I am the director of education development, and that essentially means that I work with all my cross-functional partners, as well as you two beautiful ladies, Faith and Miss at Ness Couture, to develop all of the amazing education that supports our marketing initiatives, as well as arming our curl community of pro stylists with the tools and the skills that they need in order to live their best curl life, and help their clients live their best curl life. That's the quickest and most consolidated way, because there's many arms to what it is that we do, but that's a quick summation of it.
Yes, beautifully said. Thank you so much, Sid. So I'll actually pass to Jennessa to jump into our topic today, again about curl typing.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I guess, curl typing, right? And like the system of curl typing. Why, Sid, do you think it's so important? Like, why is this an important discussion to have about curl typing?
Well, I think it's an important discussion to have as a stylist. One, it allows you the opportunity. I'm going to digress a little bit. Imagine you go to a doctor, right? I look at our profession very much in the same esteem as doctors, lawyers, any other engineers, I don't look at us as the beauty school dropouts, you know. So they are armed, they are schooled, they are taught with and go out into their profession and their technical world with tools, languages, verbiages that they all understand amongst their community, and it allows them to interpret and communicate even with us as patients or clients or customers, no matter what it is. And curl typing is a part of our language. And I think it's important because even with me, I'm naturally curly, but if I turned around and showed you this, I have at least one, I can tell you by zones, 2, 3, I have 4 different types of curls on my head that grow out of my scalp. And this part right here is what I call my kitchen, even though the kitchen is normally down here. This is my kitchen up here. This requires a lot more Pam than the other areas. You know, Pam goes back here. It's a little peanut oil, no, a little sesame oil up here, a little lighter, you know, little low heat coconut oil here in the back. You know, you can't heat it too high, it'll sizzle off. And then the rest of it, you know, I mean, I think it's very important to know those things, because without me understanding the different types of hair or the different types of curls that exist on my scalp, on my head, it would be very difficult for me to manage this full head of hair that I have in totality. So I think as hairdressers, even as clients, it's important for both parties to understand what's going on, even if they don't speak to it in the exact same way. There's a similar language, and it makes it easy for everyone to understand what's going on and translate.
Yeah, I hear you. Like as a stylist, I when like a client calls and tells me like what their curl type is, even like in a consultation beforehand, then I know that they're you know, they're versed, they know themselves, they know what their needs are. So it's really helpful for me to know kind of where they are in their journey, because I know that if you sort of search your curl type, you definitely gone through products and like the needs for your specific curl type. So it tells me a lot about where a client is kind of on their journey, or what they might be specifically looking for when it comes to like their level of need, right? And so I can kind of know based on that. But I sometimes feel that it can sort of put you in a lane, right? Like you said, you have so many different curl patterns throughout your own head. Do you feel like you have to then choose different products for all of those different areas? Like, do you treat all the areas differently based on what the curl typing specifically would be? Or do you look at more as like a general overall?
I look at it as a general overall, and I know sometimes, like if in certain areas, if one of my cabinets is not acting correctly, then I can go directly to it and address it appropriately without having all of the other cabinets like affected by it. And I don't feel like you have to put yourself in a box, but it also helps you to manage your expectations and the reality of where you can, and I'm not going to say can't go, but more often than not shouldn't go. Like me having a tighter texture, at one point I was platinum blonde, and for my hair to be the length that it is now with the texture that I have, it would be a hot, crispy mess, and I could easily go and challenge someone to do it. But would it be the best thing for me to do based on my curl pattern? No matter what it is, but understanding what it takes to get there with that curl pattern, it would be worth it for me. So, I mean, it adds to a lot. There's just natural occurrences and natural attributes to our physiological makeup that just are what they are. And curl typing is a part of that. It's just like skin. Some people have overall dry skin, but it doesn't mean that they might not have an oily T-zone. I don't understand why when it gets to hair, we get so like about it, but we're comfortable with talking about it with skin. We're comfortable with talking about it with bodies. We already know like most of our bodies are not symmetric. Like one side is a little like gimpier than the other one. Like one arm is a little bit longer than the other one, but don't tell somebody they got 2 different textures on their hair. Like what? What? 2 different curl patterns? What?
Mm.
Oh no, don't do that. Like, I don't understand how even our teeth, there's multiple different teeth in our mouths that all make up our smiles. Right. I don't know how we can't process and transfer that to hair. It's the strangest thing to me. It's the strangest thing. But I also get it because we have been conditioned by society and images and ways of thinking that has pitted us into that. But the more you know, the more you grow, and expanding your mind and expanding your knowledge and listening to someone who has a level of expertise never served anybody wrong. You can always challenge it. You don't have to agree with it, but listening expands your consciousness. Even when you don't agree with it, you can learn from what not to do if you listen long enough.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think, like, kind of on that point, do you think that there is then, you know, we were saying like, you know, if you don't tell people that they have 2 different curl patterns, does the idea of curl typing potentially create like an ideal that you're trying to go for? Like, you only want this one curl pattern, or all in your head? Like, does it maybe do that?
I don't know if it's something. I don't know if it's something we can strive towards. I think it's a journey towards setting up of an environment with different attributes to make it look harmonious. I don't know if I love J-Lo. I know I can't get that wavy hair that she has. So to go and ask someone to give me that with my natural curl pattern is, for all intents and purposes, and I don't want to sound like brash or harsh, it's delusional. So what I would have to go through to get to that point: 1, am I willing to pay the price of that? 2, am I willing to endure getting somewhere near that and still not being happy about it? So I don't think it's a matter of getting someone where they want to be. It's making the best out of the situation that you have or the environment that you have, and making it more harmonious and making it more easy to manage and making it more appealing and desirable to your eye, whatever that is. Like, my hair is naturally curly. The wind is blowing. It's a transition. As thick as my hair is, the wind never touches my scalp. So yes, I blow dry my hair sometimes to let it blow through the wind, you know? So I don't know.
Yeah, I actually have a question. So, you know, we're talking about curl typing systems, and just maybe our audience, you know, I don't want to assume that everyone knows exactly what we're referring to. Can we? I've heard it's so many different kinds of systems, and the one that I'm the most familiar with is, of course, at DevaCurl we say wavy, curly, coily, or super curly. But then, you know, I see a lot here on YouTube, and also, you know, in the curl community, the number system that coincides with letters. And so I know that's a way that people like to think of their hair. It's probably a lot easier for them to choose products. But what does that mean for a hairstylist? Like, what does it mean to me if I have a client that sits in my chair and they're like, oh, my hair is 4C, or someone comes in and says, well, my hair is 3A. Like, what is it if I've never heard of that as a stylist? And I imagine in 2021, we have heard of this. Mm-hmm. I don't want to make any assumptions. But what is it? What is the client telling me that will help me provide a great service for them?
You want me to answer that, or you want Ness to answer?
I would love for both of y'all to answer.
Okay. You want me to go first, Ness, or you want?
Yeah, go first. Okay.
Yeah. What it does for me, being that I am aware of it, what it does, it allows me in my consultation to understand how my client sees and perceives themselves, regardless of what my professional assessment of their hair is. It's just like light. The color red appears orange and pink and many different shades of red to many different people. So it allows me to understand if they're seeing crimson red, if they're seeing apple red, if they're seeing like blood red. It allows me to understand where they see themselves on that spectrum. Although I personally don't speak to or communicate with that type of curl typing. What I would say for those who hadn't heard about it is, I think we have to not even I think, I know we have to get a bit more comfortable being uncomfortable and just saying, you know what, I've not heard of that before. Let's search and see what we come up with together. Like, your client is not taking over your session, but if you show a level of empathy and willingness to listen to them and allow them to maybe show you something, and then you take your professional expertise and you transfer that knowledge, that's a bond in a relationship that probably can never be broken. So if you've heard about it or if you've not heard about it, I don't know how many times like my clients have brought me pictures or asked me about a technique that maybe one of their friends or someone told them about that I hadn't heard about. And I'm like, look, I might know what that is, but let me look this up and see exactly what it is that you're talking about. And if I know exactly what it is, I'm like, oh, well, we know this as ABC 1, 2, 3. Totally got it. And if I don't have any knowledge of it, I'm like, you know what? I personally don't know anything about it, haven't done it, not set up to do it, but I know XYZ around the corner or across the hallway right here who can do it. So for me, it's all about listening and being able to interpret what the client is seeing for themselves. Because a lot of times we as professionals, we want to tell the client what we see, but we don't really listen to what it is that they see.
Yeah.
So that's just Sid's point of view.
No, it makes total sense. I think it's great to be able to level set with the person that you're servicing. How about you, Jennessa?
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. Like I said, like I think that it tells me a lot about what they know and what they see with themselves, what that client sees with themselves. But then I need to go more, right? Like I've had so many experiences with clients coming in with the curl typing, and it's just like, I read this and this is what I think I am. How can you help me? And so I kind of know they're open, right? Open to receive. And then I go deeper in with what actually are their specific needs, because like you said, like there's so many different curl patterns all over your head. And just to make the assumption that you're, you know, a 3 doesn't mean that you're perfectly balanced in moisture, right? Like there's levels of needs within all of those hair types, regardless of the actual specific type. So it's a beginning of a conversation for me, for sure. And then it's the opportunity to go in more. But I've definitely come across clients who are like steadfast. Everything that I have read about my curl type is this, and I'm not, you know, open to hearing anything else. And they'll sometimes bring in like whole bags of their products that have been recommended specifically for that hair type. And this really, really intense and like stressful routine. It feels a lot. And sometimes it feels almost too much. And not, you know, an information, like I actually kind of enjoy those experiences because, you know me, I'm a huge product nerd. So I love all of those times, but I can feel almost the stress emanating from that client about, you know, I need to fit in here. And there's like these just walls kind of put up. So that's the one thing that like, I love to hear where they are in their journey. I love to hear that starting point, but then I like to be able to kind of move past it, say, okay, this is where we are, but like, this is also, now let's go right into actually what you need. Let's not just say that this is like the lane that you're in or the category that you're referred to. That's the beginning point. So let's continue the story, right? Like, let's go in. And like I said before on previous episodes, like I'm a sensory stylist. I need to be able to feel your hair. I need to be able to see it wet. Like I can't, it's great that there's that identification, but that means what you see yourself. It doesn't tell me the science of what you specifically need. And so it's definitely a beginning conversation. I just always am trying to like make sure it's I'll get as engaged with it as my client, right? Like it's important, I think, to listen to how important that conversation is to your client, for sure. And like we said, like listening, like I love, like when you said, whenever you talk about listening, and I love that we call this curl conversations, and every episode we've had, the theme is like, it's a collaboration. It really is a conversation with your client. Like that's where it starts, is the listening and feeling, you know? And so I will take the lead from my client, for sure. If this thing causes them stress, then I want to find peace for them.
Exactly. And that's why I said it allows you to like see where they are in their journey, because that allows you to understand how to manage the conversation with them based on all of the emotion that's attached to that as well too, because a lot of you can see the emotion come out of it as well too.
Oh, for sure. I mean, like I think hair can be fun. Like you get to play. It's a form of like it can be fun. So anytime it seems like stressful or it's like I need to know this, then it's like I'm trying to just, you know, make it lighter, make it fun, make it not that it's a chore. Your hair shouldn't be a chore. It shouldn't be a full-time job by any means, you know, except for us. I guess it's a full-time job for us, but
I was going to say though, speaking of full-time jobs, you know, I think that like for me, when I first ever heard of the curl typing system or any kind of curl typing period, I felt like I was striving for some kind of ideal that my hair would become this thing that would actually would never become that. Like my hair, like Sid said, like my hair is my hair. I have certain DNA and it is what it is. Like I'm not going to come out with J-Lo's hair, right? But as far as people who like that's their starting point, can we share some additional things that are important from a scientific point of view? Like the science of hair, and I know that y'all are kind of sciencey nerds like I am too.
That's gonna be a good one.
Based on the science of hair, okay, sure, curl typing, great. It's a great visual. But what is the thing that I should be really thinking about as a stylist servicing curls? What kind of hair condition should I think about? Or maybe something that's more important or more helpful for me to know as a hairstylist about the person's hair?
Well, the type of hair or the pattern of hair is important, but the characteristics of that pattern, is it fine, medium, or coarse? Is it dry? Is it sensitized? Is it chemically damaged? Is it mechanically damaged? Is it weighed down with buildup from the environment or pollutants or product? I mean, Jennessa, I'll let you go. I mean, there's so many more aspects to it. Again, there's entry points to conversations, and that's really, for me, what a curl typing is an entry point to it.
Yeah.
And you can enter, it's like a building. There's a front door and a back door. Sometimes it's easier to go in this door than it is the other one, and that's filling out your client to understand. And you can start a conversation through diameter, which is fine, medium, and coarse. You can start a conversation depending on how your client comes to you based on condition. Some people are going to come to you as just like, my hair feels like a Brillo pad. Don't start the conversation about, well, you're a tight wavy. That person is that their primary concern is not their curl type, or their pattern at that point. So yeah, I can get real excited about that. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, same. I'm trying to like. No, but I agree. It's definitely like, you know, your actual diameter, fine, medium, coarse, your porosity, and not because you need to come prepared to a hair appointment by float testing your hair. Like I'm not expecting anybody to know their own porosity by any means. For us, it's just really like, how quickly can you absorb water? How quickly can you, like, how much can you retain it? How fast does it evaporate? And do you want it? Do you want to be moisturized, right? Like it's not always that assumption that you're specifically looking for a lot of extra moisture. Maybe you want volume. Maybe you want, you know, to specifically target those things. Maybe you want something lighter at your scalp, but a little denser at your ends, right? For a defined look, or maybe you don't want definition. So it's all of those things. Like there's not one, you know, like I said before, like there's not one logical, I put an accent that doesn't exist in my on my words.
Okay, girl, I make up words and accents all the time,
but there really isn't like one logical route. There's not a straight A to B, right? It's like there's so many different it's like a flow chart, you know what I mean? There's so many different answers because there's so many different options. You know, having a low porosity fine hair is not bad. That's just
it is what it is.
It is what it is. Like how do you want to wear it? Exactly. So then now that we know what you have and how you want to wear it, now I'm going to help you get there.
Exactly.
You know, those are the two things that you kind of need to know is like, yeah, where, like what condition, like you said, condition, I guess, is like, what's your texture, actual texture, not just curl pattern, but texture, right? Like fine, medium, or coarse, your density also is a factor. And then how you want to wear your hair. Those are all the conversations that you have to have together in order to really come to any kind of like scientific solution.
And even any type of like collective understanding of where it is you want to go, because I don't know, we've all had our journey, right? And I don't know about you, when you came out of like cosmetology school and got in the salon, you thought you were a badass. Sorry, a bad. And you're just like, I want this one haircut, and everybody's getting this smoke. You know what I mean? And you didn't care whether your client said she wanted it or not, baby. She was getting some kind of version of it. Yeah. So. No, girl, please. I learned how to do an elevated bob at one point in my life, baby. Everybody got a bob. I mean, she got a bob. She got a bob. They got a bob. That was the Victoria
Beckham bob back in my day.
You know, even if it was a long bob, everybody got a bob. It was the lob before the lob was a lob. That thought process doesn't give you continuity in your ability to give your clients a pleasurable experience with you, and therefore understanding all of these things is like super important. I had clients who were very particular about their parts. I had clients who didn't care whether their hair flipped from one side to the other one as the wind blew. I had some clients who didn't mind a little like functional frizz. They actually preferred for their hair not to look like glass. I'm like one of those people. My curls are coily, but they're well-defined coils, if that makes any sense, where they look like they've been rod set. So I purposefully add texture to them to make them look frizzy, because I don't want it to look wiggy. You don't know how many times people have stopped me in New York City and in many other places on the train asking me where I got my wig from. And I'm like, girl, out of my scalp.
It's happened to me.
So, you know, like me, I'm straight, right? I pull my hair out straight. I don't mind the blow up from the humidity. I actually prefer it right now than the. So, you know, there are times when I want it, you know, I want my governor's wife's hair. You know, I get my curls in it, and I'm like in a barricade. It just, you know, I'm throwing out lollipops and candy for the babies, kissing babies, and you know, names. But you know, it's just
not the governor's wife. Yes, I totally agree with both of y'all. Actually, so we're running out of time.
Are we?
So, we're running out of time, but I just wanted to give either of y'all the opportunity to, if we had to give everyone one takeaway from this conversation about curl type, what would you want our friends to take away?
Don't put yourself or your clients in a box. Listen and understand that curl typing is, for all intents and purposes, like a great conversation starter. And yeah, I'll let Ness take over the rest of it. I think, you know.
I couldn't have said it better. I mean, I think that's the most important message, right? Is open up your mindset, you know, and like be, don't put, I don't like any, but there's no one size fits all answer for anything. So, I think that's also a recurring theme of these.
Yeah, I have another one. It's just like hair coloring systems. There's no one hair coloring system or level system that's superior than the other one. There's different ways of interpreting the same or similar information based on context, probably based on cultural understandings, probably based on, metrological systems. Some people use centimeters versus kilometers or meters versus miles, and the same thing with inches versus like milliliters and things like that. So no, I don't particularly feel that one curl typing system is superior to one or the other. I think there has been an opportunity for certain brands and companies, and no one in particular, but when the eyes that saw that was an area in the market, just like most things, like again, multi-masking, where did that come from? Someone created it. The same thing with curl typing systems. To have someone stand out or have myself stand out, I'm going to reinvent the wheel and put some rims on it. And some of these curl typing systems have rims on them, and it's not a bad thing. It's just a matter of preference and ease of understanding and ease of interpretation. Some people are more technically inclined, and some people are more intuitively inclined. And some systems are easier to interpret in each one of those regards, and probably many more than others. So I also think for the clients that you spoke about that come in and they're very beholden to that, I think there's an opportunity, even as salon professionals, to be a little bit more open and understand that usually when someone comes in with that type of resolve, especially a non-professional into your chair, there might be some type of trauma or experience that wasn't pleasant attached to that, and they have found something that works for them, that even though it may not work for them, there's a comfort in there. How many of you remember Charlie Brown and the guy with his little blankie? God knows how dirty that blanket was, but he kept it with him everywhere he went.
Linus, yeah.
You know, so again, breaking down the barriers and being able to see, hear, and feel where your clients are coming from, even if they are a little bit beholden to it. And some people are very, like, there are certain things that I'm just going to tell you I'm not breaking on. And I let people know that up front. And there are some people like that, but that also lets the professional that I'm talking to understand where to go and where not to go with me. So either way, it's a navigational tool. It's a navigational tool. Conversation, consultation, resultation. I just made up a word. Resultation, consultation, conversation. You know, resultation.
I feel a class coming on.
I was gonna say it would not be a show with Sid on it if we weren't getting into a freestyle somehow.
Yeah.
But no, thank y'all both. I think this was a really great conversation, and I love bringing these things to light because I think, you know, in the curly world, for so long there was not that much information, and so we can really stuck on one thing. But it's great to have all these tools in our toolbox and to be able to use it to relate to more than one person. So if it's okay,
it's over.
Yeah, this is time for us. But we'll have
everything we needed to talk about. Like,
well, I mean, we'll see you later, I'm sure.
Yes, and that means what Sid is saying is that she wants to come on a future episode so we can continue this conversation because there's so much to talk about.
Or maybe this conversation flows over, because this was the conversation starter for us, and like this can be our journey through like some conversations as well too. I love you ladies, so we can sit and talk shenanigans all day.
Well, with that said, actually, if anyone is sparked to ask us a question or send us an idea for a future episode, you can go ahead and DM us on Instagram. That's our Instagram handle down there. DevaCurl Pro. Please slide in our DM and let us know if you have any ideas. And so with that, we will see y'all soon.
Slide in the DM.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.